Hello, hello. Oh, hold on. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I had the mute button on.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, sorry for being a few minutes late there. Had to get everything set up and get out of another meeting before that with the team.
No, of course, no, not a problem at all. I was uh I was also running a little late.
It happens.
I'm building Iron Man over here.
Are you? Oh, there you go. I feel like everyone at one point in their entrepreneurial journey wants to build an Iron Man at some point. Okay, so
Yeah, this
you got the leg.
I got the leg. This was at least 1 year.
Oh, so you're like building it like a model.
Like it's a model, so it's gonna be like 2 feet tall, and every month they send you like four pieces that you then put together. So they're like 4 steps. And each step is comes with this little magazine, not just a magazine, but there's like a story of behind the scenes of Iron Man and like the different animations, like, and then there's like step by step. Okay, here's how you put these pieces together. You did this piece on this past step, so it's been a fun.
This has to do with the hobbies, doesn't it? This goes right into the hobbies. I'm gonna guess that if you unblur your background back there, even though it's the focus, right? It's the focus that's on you, that there's a shit ton of action figures and comic books back there.
Yeah, here, let me switch the camera and then you can actually see.
Oh, hey, we got the same mic too.
Yeah, did my camera just freeze?
Yeah, it was frozen. Yeah,
Just
sometimes those secondary cameras are just like frozen in a spot.
let me
But yeah,
just
now I can see the yeah, you got that. Are you married?
yes, I have 4 kids.
I was gonna say, somehow maybe just speak into the Alexas around the house, but have them. I feel like a cool gift, even though I could be ruining it if they find it, is like where they put you like in a comic book.
Hmm.
If they haven't given you a comic book with you as one of the characters in it,
Yeah, not yet.
that exists. Just somehow whisper that to them.
Yeah, so if you look way back here, I've got some toys. Wait. I don't know if you
A
can
little bit up.
see, but there's some Lego pieces, some Lego um creations and whatnot.
I was gonna say
So
that sounded like a Lego subscription kit where it's just giving you the pieces. I think my mom did that to me when I was younger. She'd buy a big thing and then give me the small chunks as rewards.
right. No, it's a lot of fun, and I only work on this Iron Man suit when my number two son is here.
I was about to
So
ask if you work on it with the kids. Yeah.
yeah, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna only work on it when on when you're here. She's like, no, go ahead, build it. I'm like, no, I want I want to build it with you. So
He
it's
knows
been
it's gonna
it's
be
been a
cool.
fun activity. It's it's taken a long time. I mean, they're
Did you have to
sending
paint it?
no, it's
Okay, I was gonna say the paint
pre-painted.
job looks pretty good.
No, it's pre-painted. There's plastic and metal pieces, and then it's been at least a year, and every year I get like every month I get one box with 4 things. So I've got 2 arms, I've got one leg. I think it's gonna start building the left leg, and then eventually they'll have the middle body and everything coming in.
That's
But
cool.
anyways, let's jump into the
Yep.
podcast. Welcome back to another episode here today on Hacks and Hobbies, and I gotta do that over.
Need some
Welcome
coffee?
back.
Need to do some jumping jacks?
I know, right?
I
It's
just
lunch.
finished an energy drink right here, so that's unfair.
Way to go. Way to go. No, I'm
Yep.
I'm fully energized every time I'm doing the episode, so I'm good to go. Welcome back to another episode here on Hacks and Hobbies, and today we get to speak with Nate Morse. Nate, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hey man, so I'm super excited to jump into your journey, and the way I like to section out or segment the podcast is journey to the start. Then we have gear evolution. Then we'll do a deep dive. Then we'll take a break to refresh and refocus. And then towards the end, we're gonna have some golden nuggets and some defining moments. You ready for this?
Awesome. I love it. Sounds like a great agenda. Let's do it.
All right. Let's journey back in time Please share with us your origin story, when you began, what essential gear, and this could be anything, marked the onset of your venture. And do you still consider them indispensable today?
Go before I answer, go a little bit on the gear aspect. Give me a little bit more thoughts on what you mean by gear.
Right. So gear could be anything. It could be business acumen. It could be something that helped you get started. It could be a message from your loved one, a message from a leader that you look up to that said,
A
hey,
catalyst.
catalyst, yes.
Okay, totally. So now, right, I focus on LinkedIn and we help clients get their ideal perfect fit clients. But the kind of origin story that made that happen was I was actually working at a car dealership
Mm,
and I was selling cars. And so the only people that I would like, have an opportunity to sell with were really the people that were coming onto the lot. Right. And so I wasn't doing any of the digital marketing side because the digital marketing guy, he basically took all the leads that came from the
mm-hmm.
website. So everyone else had to go, stand on the lot or network with people in their area. And I was only 20 at the time. So the networking side didn't work because none of my 20-year-old friends at the time were able to buy $60,000 trucks. So, so that's how that worked. And I did it I started in Michigan. And so if anyone's from Michigan, then they would know that like the winters are absolutely brutal there. And so I started in October, brutal winter, didn't end up working out. I did sell some cars, but didn't end up staying there. I actually got like epilepsy partway through it, which
Oh,
was
wow.
like the scariest thing in terms of driving a car around because I'm basically like a ticking time bomb and
Mm,
I don't want to like, do all that and hurt somebody or whatever. So that like really made life weird. So I took a job working from home for an RV classified site. So still in the big ticket space,
mm-hmm.
much safer at home because I wasn't like a ticking time bomb all the time. Um, and if anything happened, I'd be basically in my bed. So it was much easier to handle
Yeah.
that phase of life, which I'm good now. So
Mm-hmm. Good,
don't need to worry
good,
about
good,
that.
good to hear.
But the online world was way different. And I had built websites since I was like 11. So
Mm-hmm.
I figured that I had really known most of it. But when it came to a big ticket item where someone has a long journey, whether that's you sell something that's high ticket, like a service, like helping people with LinkedIn, or you
Mm-hmm.
sell a car, there's usually a bigger service or a buyer's journey that goes through that.
Yeah.
And the people that are online, when they're visiting this like virtual lot of the RV dealership, they couldn't become a lead until they picked out what unit they wanted on their own, which was very different than when I worked in the car dealership because each person that would come in, I could take down their wants and needs and move them through. And it's basically like a 100% contact info gained from each person that came, but online
Yeah.
was completely different. And so I was like, why is this? And after years, I recognized that it was because this buyer's journey, these questions that they have answered, they're not just going to pick out, hey, I want to know about this unit or I
Mm-hmm.
want to work with you because they're not even ready for that. They're not ready to have a sales
Right. They're still
conversation yet, right?
researching.
Yeah. So it's like I noticed that all these businesses on like LinkedIn, because basically COVID happened and then I went on my own. But I noticed even on LinkedIn, they had the same issue where it's like all these people engaging in content and doing all these things, and then the people who sell the services aren't really positioned that well or aren't really helping these people that are underserved in these pockets throughout the buyer's
Mm-hmm.
journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, well, how do we actually lead the market and help them where they're at and take them through and make them the hero of their own journey and us be the
Yeah.
guide versus just standing at the end when they've picked you. And so that strategy of finding those like individual people has allowed us to do things like on LinkedIn I'll basically roll out the red carpet to individual prospects that are super high level so they can get these whale clients by standing out. And that's basically the journey. But in terms of the catalyst, yeah, I was definitely going from in person to online and seeing like what's the journey that they have to go through.
Mm. No, that's really powerful because understanding what journey the buyer goes through is a huge deal depending on the product and the service that you're selling, the service that you're offering. And it makes a lot of sense because they have to be ready. Like, hey, and if I look at to my business model, it's the same thing, right? People have to be in that mind space of, hey, I need to level up my studio. I need to blah 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 because that is a high ticket purchase, you're spending a lot more money, you're spending a lot more time, you're changing a lot of things around. Whereas owning a car or owning an RV are two different products, even though they might cost very similar price point.
Yeah. Can I give a couple questions for those that like thinking time that I think will crack open a lot of things?
Yeah.
Because what you see is what you get, and questions are fantastic. I'm sure you agree. And so there's tangible and there's intangible things. And even if you think of a LinkedIn profile, it shows on Google. And so if you're showing up against, your competitor, okay, when they're going there, the questions that you need to know of, because when they visit your profile, you don't want them to leave that lot or leave the page or whatever. You want them to actually become a contact. And so they're going to, it's basically you're going to need to be relevant to them at the stage that they're at. And so a couple of questions that are good for thinking time to help you are like, what are the actions that they need to take? Right. So for us with LinkedIn, they might have to know that their people are on LinkedIn, that their audience is there, right? Like that's one thing that they got to know if it's even worth it in the beginning.
Right.
And then also, what are the things that they need to learn? So they might need to learn, if they don't have any knowledge of marketing, they probably need to learn some basic knowledge and learn like, what LinkedIn is for, or, whatever, your business has. And then just like you're saying, what needs to be true. So if they need to be in a certain space, right? How do you take the people who aren't there and be relevant to them and move them into that space? There might be some things that are polarizing. They need to show them some kind of cases that kind of crack open their thinking to see the other side. That might be a really big thing that you see. And you can even ask, like, if you go through your current clients or people that you're working with right now and just see like what their top challenge or question is, and make a log of those and it'll give you a repository of what is the journey, and start breaking it down and making sure that you can help with all those things that come through.
I love that. I love that so much. And what's really interesting is as we're going through that journey, and as we're showcasing those questions to them, and that's what you gone through, right? That's how you went from sales lot, and then you're bringing all that analogy, all that you learn at the sales lot to then apply it in here for LinkedIn and for the work that you got to do.
Yeah, it's all about the relationships. I think online businesses are great at putting information out there of like, hey, we do this and we solve this, and once you're ready, then we're there. But I think in terms of building the relationship, I think that's the kind of next stage that has to evolve.
Yeah, and that's so good. And as the catalyst evolves, or the evolution happens for the business as well, you're also getting influenced by what others are using, what others are seeing, or what you see other people using. I'm like, hey, I should try this model. Is it going to work for me or not? Well, I've got to try and figure out if that's something for me.
Totally.
All right, so let's delve deeper into your journey and how that catalyst became a part of it. And I'm really keen to explore specific stories that struck a chord. And this will give us a chance to unpack the environment, motivations, and inspirations that also shaped your path.
Yeah. So let's see. Specific stories. I think so when I first started going on LinkedIn and trying to do this, and even if I should actually take a step back, because the reason that LinkedIn even came to play is because when I was running this RV classified site, I didn't have enough time to cold call and door knock as it grew. And so I had to figure out a way to be more efficient. And so LinkedIn was the only platform that allowed me to like target the people who I wanted, and also they have a connection node. So you can like add why you're reaching out. There's really no other platform that does that. But in doing that, I was focusing on just reaching out to, as many of them as I could. And it was really just the demographics. It wasn't really, I wasn't really getting that good of a response rate. It felt like it was like pretty spammy, right?
Yeah.
But then over time, we actually looked at like, okay, how do we find people who are in the buyer's journey right now? That was the flip to when I went to the LinkedIn site. So it's like a deeper version of the catalyst, right? Is instead of them coming here and me trying to be relevant to all of them, how do I go find the pocket of them that's underserved in the market? Right. And so
they're
that
already
was
thinking about it. They're already looking at all the RV sites. They're already in that mindset.
And if I can find them Like let's say they're like engaging with someone's content, or like they're hiring a specific role that has to do with what I do. Those are like psychographic markers for them.
Mm,
They're actually in the market. And so if I reach out and I'm like, hey, saw this, right? It's like I see them, it's genuine, you know?
yeah,
And then my responses for everything like skyrocketed, because when they'd respond, we're already in the conversation of the context that ends up with me helping them, and then
sure.
them ending up being a client,
Nice.
assuming that I actually help them through all the way. That was basically that other side of the coin, of the catalyst coin.
Dude, that's so powerful, and that totally makes sense, right? Because a lot of the time you're probably circling around your own mindset, and having seen that breakthrough firsthand for yourself, like, hey, let's flip it. Okay, who's already in the journey? So first you have to define the journey. Okay, here's the journey for these buyers market. Okay, these are the different pockets. Which of the people would be the most responsive in taking this message and the message that we're delivering to them?
Yeah, yeah, and making it relevant to them, because I really believe that relevancy drives urgency. Like how
Mm,
relevant something is for you in the moment and what you have going on, and that person, how relevant they are to you, gives you the urgency to actually move forward with it. Because if it's not relevant, that's where it feels like spam, right? So what's the opposite of spam? Something that's like super relevant and you want to take action on right now.
yeah, yeah, you're so right. And spam is almost like ads, right? Ads you don't want to see, but then they're trying to make it more relevant. Like, hey, you were watching this video, maybe you're interested. Like, I was watching a Photoshop video where this is like 3 months old video, but he's talking about Photoshop and having AI generation built in. And then there was an ad literally said, Photoshop is now out of beta for AI generative stuff. I'm like,
Nice.
okay, well placed ad, but I'm already a I'm already a Photoshop subscriber. For somebody other than me watching it, looking at this cool tool, they're like, oh my God, I need to get in on this because I'm already watching content around it.
Yeah. And for us, we noticed after having a certain amount of clients, as any business does, that there's
Mhm.
certain ones that you like more than others, or had more leverage, or gave you better referrals.
Sure.
You like to have, and so when you get to that part, then you're like, okay, people don't really, the people that are doing the spam approach, like with outreach,
Hmm.
they're not going to recognize this, but really
Mm.
outreach is we're talking about relevancy. It's the best opportunity to make something relevant because you're creating it just for them and they know it. There's no post or ad that's going to feel like it was made just for them, to the
Right.
point where you actually make it just for them. You're basically just rolling out the
Mm.
red carpet, right? So then you take that step of, okay, what do I want my business to become? Because the clients that I have are going to basically decide what the business becomes,
Mm.
you know?
That's so powerful.
I wanted this to be a good one for you. I'm trying to
No,
beat all the previous ones. And most
no,
valuable
100%. I
guest
mean,
award.
yeah, Nate. I mean, it's answering a lot of questions that have been in my head, because I'm like, okay, how do I get past this block that I'm facing? Sure, I'm marketing, I'm posting. I'm not posting as often, but outreach has been the Achilles heels for myself. Like,
Yeah.
anytime I'm outreaching for people to be a guest on a podcast, it's easy. Like, oh, come on in, be a guest. And like, oh my God, I'd love to. And then, they're jumping on and being a guest without hesitation. But anytime it comes for me to like, hey, are you looking to blah, blah, blah with your studio? It's like, not really.
He's just
But
handing out a brochure. That's like walking
yeah,
up to start a relationship, right? That's like walking up to a girl or whatever you're into, in the bar or whatever. And you're just like, your first thing you say is like, hey, here's all the reasons that we should get married, right? No matter how valuable you are,
yes.
people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And so until
Hmm.
that is there, that whole offer side like doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're like doing it at the wrong time. Like you might be the best person ever, but if you're like, we should get married, then you just became like the worst person ever because of the human side just not being there. And you take that approach of being able to be, as relevant as possible, creating a
Yeah.
relation or creating an experience for one person, and you really get to pick like, okay, who do I want my client to be? Because if
Mm,
they're a big client, right, and they have other people going after them, like essentially that relevance is going to be the differentiator,
yeah.
assuming that everything apples to apples. Besides that,
Everything
that's a
matches.
lot
Yeah.
of what they look for, especially if you're trying to go for a bigger client, because the person that you're
Mm,
talking to, if they're within a business, is actually trying to protect their job more than they are trying to grow like an entrepreneur.
right.
So it's
Right.
like it's a whole different dynamic. They actually can't wait for someone to come in and like help them because they probably are trying to figure out how to do that thing for the first time, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's so good. That's so good. So Nate, as you're building, as you pivoted and built out your business and started reaching the right people, where did that go? So from working or running the RV classified company, what's the pivot, or like what's you doing now?
Yeah. So the RB Classified company, when COVID hit,
Mm-hmm.
because I was an entrepreneur for them, if people don't know, an entrepreneur is basically an entrepreneur like
Inside
minus
of
1%.
mm-hmm.
And that
Inside a
1%
company. Yeah.
was enough for me to stay. Okay. And then
Mm-hmm.
COVID came along and then they let me go. And it was like exactly what I needed because like now the team is all my culture, like they're aligned to my priorities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I get to build them. Obviously, I take on like a billion times more risk because
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs have like zero risk,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. Um, but yeah, then when COVID happened, then I went, okay, like I don't really want to work with the RV dealerships as much as like entrepreneurs that are trying to make an impact on the world. How do I help
Yeah.
them get the best clients possible?
Yeah.
And so that's where pivoting into the LinkedIn side as the full business, that's where that came to be.
So when you're working on the RV classified side, you built out your entire team.
No, so I was an entrepreneur. Yes, so I went to a company that had their own team
Okay.
and I was able to like recruit them for like segments of projects and things that I wanted. But then I also recruited off to the side. So for example, one of the ones
Got it.
that this should totally help people is that when I was doing the cold calling, I realized at one point that if I knew something about them that was relevant, they had a way higher chance of listening to me
Mm,
because they didn't feel like they were getting hit up from a list,
right.
right? Two totally different feelings. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually hired a team to research all of the people first to give me what was like the important parts about each so that I could deliver that,
Yeah.
but like the Cliff Notes version of it. And so that was like a hybrid. And then I was like, okay, now let's see if we can do this in LinkedIn instead of this
Mm,
just like spam approach that everyone
mm-hmm.
else was doing. And that took my acceptance rate from like 25% to like 80, 90%. And even
Wow.
my reply and interest, but interest meaning like they're interested in what I
Mm.
said. That even like went way above 50. And so, just I haven't seen anything else really in the market take that approach because they're all like, let's flood your calendar. And I'm like, let's get the best, let's get the best clients we can.
Yeah, no, you're so right. And it's almost
I
very
want them to
similar.
enjoy every client. Like it's really like that we believe that
Yes.
revolutionary industry leaders deserve to enjoy every client because they're going after impact. So they should have the clients that actually enable them to create the most impact and the best, service product.
Yeah. And if you think about it, when I don't know if you've seen like shows like Veep or other political shows, when a let's say a senator or a House of Representatives going and talking to people, there's a guy next to them, like, hey, this is this person. They just had a blah blah blah. They're just giving you these feedback so you start that conversation off and make that connection really quick. So that's essentially what you started doing
I'm gonna make a note of
for
that. What are they called? You got anything? This is like a post. This is like a
I
post topic right
don't know
here.
what they're called, but they're almost like their right hand person that like gives them a feedback. Hey, they're basically their chief of staff and their comms. They're in the comm space, communications, so they know who you're going to be talking to, who you're going to be meeting with, and if especially if it's an in-person event and you're going around and talking to all the other senators, like, hey, this is what happened with this senator, especially if you're a new politician coming into a space, like, hey,
Yeah, this is great. I'm gonna use this as an example, then tie it into the phone caller part and then to the LinkedIn. That's gonna be a good post. So thanks for that.
boom, there you go. Of course, man, that's what we're here to do, man. Nate, I've learned so much from you. Thank you so much. In this short time, I'm like reaming, and I can't wait to go and teach this to my team as well. Like, hey, let's build out this customer journey for our audience and see where are they in this journey, and then how can we talk to the ones that are already having conversations in this space, that are already thinking about, oh, I just bought a camera, I don't know how to set this up. We need to go and talk to them. I just bought a microphone, or what to look for, a interface, blah blah blah. So they kind of understand. They're already on a journey of acquiring the gear, but now we can just help them get to that part much more quicker.
Yeah, it allows you to really take your sales process and their buyer's journey and put them together,
Mm,
right? And go, okay, how do I move them through?
Yeah. I love that so much, man. Thanks so much. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll take a quick break, grab some water, refresh, and when we come back, we'll dive into some actionable insights, more profound reflections, and those will be the 3 hacks that you share with the audience. Well, hey guys, welcome back. We've been talking with Nate Morse here, and I am like bursting from my brain because the knowledge that I've acquired in just the past few minutes from Nate. Thank you so much, Nate, for your wisdom and the tactics, not just tactics, but the hacks that you've employed to level up your team, level up your business process, and getting that percentage high of how much more people are responsive to the messages that you're sending.
Absolutely. Almost like if I remember, if your kids watch Jimmy Neutron, or if is Jimmy Neutron even still a thing anymore? I don't know, the
Not
brain blast
anymore,
thing.
but I
That's all I was gonna
remember.
say.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that was almost 8 years ago when my kids were watching Jimmy Neutron. Now there's like so many new stuff. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
new show, which is based off of Fast and Furious. Like, yeah, there's an
That'd be cool.
animated series, Fast and Furious, Super Spies or something like that my kids are watching. Like, oh, this is Toretto's cousin. I'm like, oh my god.
Dude, way different than when I was a kid. And it was like The Simpsons is the only like remotely, you know, fun thing to watch or whatever. And now they can stream whatever, whenever. And there's a
I
billion
know.
shows coming out every day. So
It's kind of
they don't
crazy.
know.
They have no idea. All right, Nate, let's jump into the 3 invaluable hacks or tips that our superpreneurs listeners can immediately implement or integrate into their ventures.
All right. So first one, actually, I might even take up 2 for this one, but it's on your profile. And the reason that I always say these is because people are, when they're looking for your service or offer, they are going to Google you, and
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn loves to put profiles in Google. So if your profile is set up from that last job you had before you became an entrepreneur, and your competitors are more established,
Mm.
then they're going to feel more established, especially if they're doing what we're doing, where we're saying if someone lands on your profile, make sure that there's things on there for each stage of the buyer's journey that you uncovered
Mm-hmm.
earlier. I mean, then you'll be a cut above everybody else at that point. But yeah, minimum is making it so that it is it's good enough. It's better than your competitors when people are
Yeah.
searching. I don't think people recognize that. Um, and then I might even go past 3, who knows. And the next one would be that little bio line, like next to your picture. Um, put something in there that engages people. It's a great time to ask a question that engages someone, and then also ask them if they want to opt in or something where they can become and have some relationship with you. Or you can just tell them, hey, visit my pinned post or featured post or something like that. You can direct
Mm-hmm.
them, because when they look through the search results or they see you comment something, LinkedIn is the only one I've ever seen that will actually show that line. So you can literally convert people with that
Yeah.
from a comment from someone else or in the search results. And that's just like underplayed. I think another one that is way underplayed, because I don't really think there's very many people doing it,
Mm-hmm.
is going back into it searching or showing up for SEO results, both on Google. Also, if someone's looking on LinkedIn, is that for your in the experience section, instead of just saying founder, think of what are like the outcomes or the different skills that your
Mm-hmm.
business actually has. So then you can put like 10 jobs working at the same place, and each one's just a different skill, and now you'll rank
Yeah.
for all of those. Make
Wow,
sense?
that's really powerful. I love it. Um, I'm gonna apply. I'm gonna apply some of those. I have some of those already set up, but I'm going to take that advice and put into action because that's what I'm asking the superpreneurs listening to do as well. Thanks so much,
Totally.
Nate. All right, we all have these pivotal crossroads, and I think you already talked about this. Can you share one specific moment that truly defined your journey?
There's so many. There's so many moments. I want to do a good one. Let me think for a couple seconds on this one.
No problem.
Okay. All right. So instead of viewing clients as like numbers of clients that you need to get in order to hit a bottom line, if you've been in like masterminds,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're going to recognize at one point that the context in which you live has a huge effect on you, right? I'm sure you've experienced that. And so
Yeah.
Your clients and your team are people that you work with, on a really close, regular basis. And so that's almost like your mastermind of context that's affecting you. So even if you're
Mm,
going to other masterminds and stuff, that's like, but the clients that you work with and your team are not the right environment for you. You're trying to solve, essentially, using a metaphor, taking greens powders instead of eating your vegetables. Like it's something that's supposed to be on top as that
mm-hmm.
extra mastermind on top, but it
Yeah.
shouldn't be a replacement for the actual daily stuff that you see. Because maybe you go to, maybe you have a mastermind event, once a month or once a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
That'll affect you for a little bit, but the context that you live in is going to make a big difference. And so that was a big part that had me realize, like, okay, the clients that I have really do make a huge difference on who I become and what the
Yeah.
business becomes. And I think that a lot of people just try to gain clients. They don't focus on, okay,
Mm,
what's the impact of this client? Like even just on my life, because you don't really need a mastermind. If you have a bunch of really awesome clients around you and you have a bunch of like your team is great, like
yeah.
you have your own mini mastermind there. And I don't think people are realizing that as much. So, or at least I didn't until I did. So
Sure.
that would be one of the catalysts. Yeah.
Man, I love that so much. Cool. What the question that arises in my head is, how do you fire a client?
How do you fire a client? Oh
Yeah, I
man.
mean, somebody that's not in the same, like you mentioned, your clients also affect how you feel, how you do for the length of time that they've been with you, because they're not bringing the energy that you're looking for in the client, or they're not helping you along in
Yeah.
achieving that.
I mean, they affect your team too, right? Your team spends a lot of time with them. So if you
Hmm.
want your team to become a certain thing, your culture is basically the clients that you
Yeah,
bring in,
that's so
to a
powerful.
degree, right? But yeah, in terms of letting them go, I would be big on boundaries, which should be liberating yourself by letting
Yeah.
them know, like, hey, this is how we operate, this is what we accept, and this is what we don't accept. Because if they leave and it's for a culture reason, then that's not like a justified reason, right?
Hmm.
And as long as you're not like, your boundaries should be something that actually make the relationship more healthy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then if they don't, because you want to give them a chance and let them know, just like everybody else.
Of course.
But if they don't adhere to that and they still have bad energy, you know, like some clients will be like, like it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna be how I'm gonna be, or whatever. And if it's like that, then you just don't re-sign them. You just don't let
Yeah.
them re-sign up.
Yeah.
So you
Cool,
tell
man.
them a
Well,
price that's the I've heard of like contractors and construction will say that they have this like I don't want to do it price. That's the only price. It's
mhm.
basically like I don't want to do it, but if you give me a price that's big enough, then I'll do that. And that
Yeah.
would be basically the only thing, which still might not be the right move, but
Hmm.
maybe it is. I don't know.
Maybe it is. I love that. Thank you so much, man. All right, let's jump into the rapid fire questions I love to ask my guests. What is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Oh, that I wish I got into. I think watch. I think watch trading,
Watch trading, like
like buying
trading.
and selling watches.
Mm,
I think that's very interesting. Yeah.
that is really cool. And it's intricate how much time goes into building an actual watch, because you have, oof, I've seen a ton of these,
Yeah. And like they retain
videos.
value and will gain value. So I think it's just an interesting world. I think it's just an interesting world over there.
Nice. All right, next up, what did you want to be when you were a child?
I wanted, so it's odd because I live in Nashville, but I wanted to be and didn't become it. I wanted to be a rock star. I basically
Mm,
played guitar at least 8 hours a day from when I was like 11 till I was like
wow.
a senior in high school. And then I kind of went and wanted to have friends. But that was the original. There was actually I went to Interlochen Arts Academy in Michigan at one point, and there was
Hmm.
my improv jazz teacher told me that if I do this as the thing that's supposed to make me money, then I'm gonna end up like hating my passion. And
Yeah.
I think that was like a catalytic moment. Catalytic moment, is that the right word? We're leaving
Uh-huh.
it. And so I like lost steam from that for sure.
Mm, that's really interesting, because it's the thing that you're counting on for you to make the money, but it's not really doing it because you're not doing it for passion anymore. You're looking doing it for something else
Yeah.
altogether.
especially if you become like a studio musician, like they're basically telling you what to play, you know?
Yeah.
And then if you become signed, you're in the same situation like with a band. Um, so yeah, you basically have to
Interesting.
be independent.
Wow. Okay. I like it. Next up, what is your favorite movie or TV show?
Oh man, I have so many of these. Um, yeah, I'd probably go both. I'd probably go both. So like movie, I still think Matrix had a big effect on me.
Hmm.
I think there was a summer where as a kid I watched it every day. So I was pretty good at the first one. Um, TV shows, there's a lot of them. I like ones that I really focus on like the energy state that it
Hmm.
puts me in, you know, especially with shows. So I like Billions is a good show.
Hmm.
I like that. If you haven't watched that, um, Suits, I like that as
Okay.
well. So
Yeah.
I'll have that side where it's like kind of more engaging. And then I will actually for like winding down. I like dumb cartoons. I'll totally watch Family Guy or South Park or something to
Yes.
relax.
Yes. Family Guy, and I love that Futurama is now back. It's on Hulu.
I just saw
You
that. Yeah,
and I don't know if you've seen that show, but
totally.
it's same creator from Family Guy, right?
Uh,
No, Matt Groening. So that's same as Simpsons.
yeah, yeah. Simpsons is good too. When I was younger, I actually didn't think it was good, and then for some reason, when I got older, I was like, "This is actually good."
Because it's actually cartoon for adults, not for kids.
Yeah, that's probably why. That's probably 100% why. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the
Uh,
entrepreneurs like yeah, they don't I feel like some people frown at that, and it's like no, it needs to always be like the most stimulating, like highest IQ, hardest to consume stuff. And I'm like, man, if anyone knows me, I'm just going 100% all the time. And so for me to
yeah,
be able to just chill, I need something that's
just
like I need
chill.
to watch like The Office or something that's like
Yes.
a different world.
Those blank stares on Office. I mean, if there was like a YouTube video of just blank stares after a statement, that would be something to watch.
Sometimes, man, it's so awkward that I pause it and I'm like, I'm gonna have to come to it later when I can go into the moment and I have inertia from wherever else that's gonna make it not as awkward. But in the moment, there's episodes where I'm like, I can't
You
can't
can't
go
just
through with
can't
this
do
one
it.
right now.
Just no, can't do it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Next up, what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Oh man, what movie? I've never thought of this. What's a movie where a guy just like never gets hurt, gets everything he wants, and life is perfect?
Groundhog Day.
We could do that. I'd still want him to I think I'd still want to develop, right? Like if you have a kid, right? Like you have to have them go through shitty things. So I don't want to like not develop. I don't want to just atrophy for the rest of life. So
Right.
that's why.
No, have you seen Groundhog Day?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Bill Murray, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
Classic.
basically reliving that same day. And after probably a week of living the same day, it's like, oh my God, I could literally do anything and end up the same path. So he
Yeah.
starts developing. He starts getting good at figuring out what to mix. Like he learns how to play the piano so then actually show up to this one place and he's like playing full on piano. So that day repeated for him for probably 8 years and 8 months and something rather where he finally clicked like, okay, what I need to do to make that day continue for the rest, not
Yeah.
like stop the loop essentially.
That'd be up there. And I love, man, the movies where they like continue the same day over and over again to figure it out. I think that's like one of the best plot lines ever.
It is. I mean, what was
It's
it?
like a
I think
quantum plot line.
there was a Tom Cruise movie that did the same thing where he
Yep.
just ends up in the same spot where
That was good. Yeah. He kept he'd keep dying over and over again. Yeah. I can't think of what that movie was, but that one I actually liked. I actually thought that one was super good.
I loved. I mean, I like anything Tom Cruise. He's up there with talent and with charisma that he's got going on. All right,
Definitely.
man. Next question: who is your favorite superhero?
Oh, I totally knew this one was coming. Man, I would say Iron Man. Does Iron Man still count as a superhero? Like I feel like he's in the
He,
Batman world where it's like
he is
he
he is
created
Superman.
the superhero side
Yes.
on his own, you know? And I think that's like a superpower in and of itself.
I mean, he
More
literally
Iron Man than
says,
Batman. I think Batman just had a lot of money and just started buying things compared to Iron Man. I think Iron Man is a little bit better in that end. I don't know. They both have gadgets. It's
They
basically who's
both
the
have
James Bond
gadgets.
superhero.
They both have that, but it was Iron Man, and at the end of the first movie, he's like, "Are you insinuating that I'm a superhero?" It's like, I never mentioned about a superhero. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I am Iron Man, and then poof, movie
Yeah.
ends.
I think he has the best character too, because I think Batman is more of the man. It seems weird, but like let's say, the people that are like, oh, I want to be like in the dark and this mysterious, misunderstood guy. I think that's like a weird insecurity area
It
that they're
is,
coming from
yeah, it is,
to be the Batman side. So I think
and
Iron Man actually is better in that regard.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And then if you think about it, in DC comic world, they're all secret identities, whereas on the Marvel space, everybody kind of knows who everybody is. You
I
know,
didn't actually never realize that. There's a book that you should read if you like reading
okay,
books. It's The
uh-huh.
Alter Ego Effect by Todd
Ooh,
Herman. I don't know if you've ever read that, but it's essentially like you act like different personalities, different contexts. So you'll have different
mm,
attributes when you're hanging out with your kids versus you're going to work. So how do you document those? And then what's
yeah,
the talisman? It might be like a pair of glasses that makes you
right,
Superman now when you're going to work, right?
yeah,
For me, it might be a polo some days, like you
hmm,
have on, but today is not my polo day, crush it day.
sure.
So, that could be a different thing. So that might help. Yeah,
That is really good. So I need to choose when I wear this polo.
make it mean something. So you're like,
Make
when
it
I put
mean
these on, I
something.
act in this way, and then now it
Boom.
allows you to separate your different alter
Mm.
egos.
I like that. I like that a lot, man. Sweet. Okay. Last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Ooh, if I was a board game, is Cards Against Humanity considered a board game in this day and age?
No, it literally says cards in it.
I know. That would be it if I had an option.
Yeah.
Um, oh, Risk, right? That's the
Yeah.
name of the game.
That's a good game. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's a good
love that
game.
game. I actually have like a phone online.
A
I
phone
used to
version
play
of
online
it.
with people. I was way too into it. Yeah, yeah. Risk, Global Domination. Yep, that's definitely probably my favorite
Yeah.
board game.
Yeah. I
I like
love
that
it,
one.
man. All right. Next and last question. Where can superpreneurs find you?
Okay, so you can find me on LinkedIn. Just look up Nate Morse and look for me. You can find me on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Facebook too. I'm on X as well. But the easiest way is to go to Nate Morse, MORSE.com/gift. And there's resources on there. You'll see articles from me. You'll see appearances like here. And you'll also be able to connect with me on there because I have my links to my socials as well.
I
And
love it.
free profile audits. There's a bunch of stuff. Just depends on what you need.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nate, for your time, your wisdom, and your energy. This was a really fun episode, and I hope the listeners got a lot out of it too. And because I certainly did. All right, man.
Awesome.
Catch you in the next episode. Thanks again so much.
Thanks.